The whole vertical versus horizontal handheld debate is a tale as old as time. Humans have been arguing this since before the invention of fire, or Funyuns. Probably the most important issue that's ever faced humanity, and we're no closer to a solution now than ever. Wars have been started over this. Rivers of blood have been spilled. And for what? To stroke the ego of those in charge? Those retro handheld puppet masters pulling our strings to make us dance? Well, I say no more. I'm taking matters into my own dweeby hands, and I'm righting this sinking ship once and for all. I'm going to tell you exactly why vertical handhelds are better than horizontal ones. And before you go thumbs downing the video or crying to your mama that TechDweeb hurt your fifis, maybe just listen to what I have to say, because I'm probably right. Probably definitely right. See, here's the thing about the vertical versus horizontal debate. It's not about which format you like for the nostalgia, which one reminds you of your old PSP or Game Boy or whatever, and it's not about which one is more pocket friendly, and it's not about which format is better for this or that system, or which format has the best handheld options, or which format your boss prefers that you'll say is your favorite to impress him, but really you prefer the other one. The real reason is that it's all about angles. What the heck does that mean, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have a handy dandy diagram. See how big my muscles are? And I have a jetpack. Wait, what the heck is going on with my feet? Why did I draw that? I also have this diagram that explains the angles of handheld viewability ship. See, when you have a horizontal handheld, the screen is lower in your field of view, causing you to need to look on a more downward angle. So your neck is angled down, probably causing spinal cord damage and contributing to the poor posture epidemic that is sweeping the nation. Or you have to hold the handheld higher up, which is fatiguing for your weak arms and probably causing elbow degradation or whatever. When you have a vertical handheld, the screen is up top, so you don't have to look quite as far down, or you don't have to hold it quite as high up, giving you the best chance at perfect posture and healthy elbows. I know it sounds silly to care about that, but it's genuinely more comfortable. It's not a drastic difference, just a few inches, but a few inches can make a big difference. That's what your mom told me. This is the real reason why I'm a vertical handheld guy. I find them more comfortable to use. Some systems make more sense to play horizontally, but for the really retro stuff like Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, even PS1 and N64, I'm going to be grabbing a vertical handheld for those systems most of the time. It tickles me in the nostalgia place, and it's more comfortable to use. It's a double whammy. So now that we've definitively proven that vertical handhelds are superior, at least until my next video where I try to convince you that the horizontal handhelds are superior, the main thing that I wanted to do today is go over all the best vertical handheld options that we have now as of the time of filming this video. We'll compare them, talk about which ones do what good, which have the best performance, which are the best bang for the buck, all that good stuff. So no matter what your vertical handheld needs are, I've got you covered. I spoil you. You know that? Oh, and by the way, I'm going to include links to all these in the description below. Lots of them were sent to me by LitNXT. However, some of these came from different places. Some of them I got from the manufacturers, and some of them I bought myself. And I'll also have links to all of my video reviews for all of these things down there too. There's going to be a lot of links down there, I guess. Let's start off with the crowd pleaser handhelds, the ones that'll be the best choice for most people, that do a ton of stuff, great system, great price, the ones that pretty much anyone could just buy and have a good time with. First up, we have the Miyoo Mini Plus. This thing is a champ. It's a small and relatively lightweight handheld with a great streamlined pocket-friendly form factor. It has a 3.5-inch screen, so it's in that middle ground kind of size. This thing isn't super powerful. It runs up to PS1, and it can also do a good amount of Nintendo DS. I love the look of this thing. I love the retro Game Boy vibes. And the stock system is actually pretty good, but if you get a Miyoo Mini Plus, I highly recommend switching over to Onion OS, which is a wonderful custom operating system for the Miyoo Mini Plus with a ton of extra features. If you buy this from LitNXT, they actually sell these really cool pre-made Onion OS SD cards that come with the best ROM sets that I've ever seen on a pre-made system, all set up with the latest version of Onion OS, ready to rock. If you don't want to bother making your own, that's a good option. Another crowd pleaser is going to be the Amberlic RG35XX Plus, which is a dumb name, so I call it the Bizzazzle. This is actually the handheld I crowned as the best handheld, and by that I mean that it's the best choice for most people. I made a whole freaking video about it. This thing is just a rock star in the handheld world. It's a bit bigger than the Miyoo Mini Plus, so a bit less pocket friendly, but it's still very pocketable, and it's also a bit more comfortable. It has a really good operating system on it out of the box, and there is a plethora of other operating systems that work work on this like MinUI and MuOS and Rocknix, and my personal favorite, which is a Battle fork called Newly. The Bizzazzle can run everything that the Miyoo Mini Plus can run, and also you get lots of N64 and Dreamcast and PSP. Not everything on those systems will run perfect, but lots will. And you get extra features like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and video out, so you can turn it into a home console. You get Port Master, so you can run ports of PC games. It's got so much going for it. There's a reason that this thing is so popular. And finally, another crowd pleaser is the TrimUI Brick. It's a bit of an odd one because it's a bit smaller, only a 3.2-inch screen, but the screen is super high resolution. It has a really nice build. If you like retro handhelds that look premium, then this one's definitely going to scratch that itch. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. And it's powerful. This thing is actually a bit more powerful than the Bizzazzle, and it can run more Dreamcast and N64 and PSP. It also has a really good operating system out of the box, and you can get a pre-made SD card from LittleNXT that has cross-mix and a great ROM set. And also, LittleNXT sells custom buttons and laser-engraved backplates, so you can customize the boogers out of it. That's how I got this lovely orange and black TechDweeb version. This one isn't going to be for everyone. There are some quirks to it, but I know that for lots of people, this is their favorite device right now. And if you like the look of it, you'll probably love it too. This next category is going to be for the best bang for the buck handhelds. Those handhelds that aren't as nice as the crowd pleaser category, all of them have compromises to them. However, they are a lot cheaper and they can give you nearly the same experience. And just so I don't have to repeat it over and over, every device in this category does not have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or video out, and all of them use the RK3326 chipset, which can handle everything up to PS1 and some Dreamcast and N64 and PSP. First up, we have the famous R36S. This thing came out about a year ago, and it took the handheld world by storm because it offered an experience that was really good at a crazy low price. You can find this right now for like 35 bucks. There are some compromises you'll be making going with this, like there's no Wi-Fi, it feels cheap, and the controls aren't the best, kind of stiff D-pad and buttons and super clicky bumpers and triggers that aren't really nice, but it actually handles gaming really good. You can play all that old stuff, and it's also got a great open source operating system, so you can customize the experience. For the price, it's easy to overlook what it doesn't do well and focus what it does right, which is playing games good. A step up from that is the G350. This is the new kid on the block, and oh boy, I'm in love with this one. It's a bit more expensive. It's like $10 more than the R36S, but it's easily worth that extra 10 bucks because it is so much better in terms of how it feels in the hand and the look and feel of the components, the overall quality, and especially the controls. This feels like a more expensive Amberlick device rather than a cheap knockoff. It won't give you any more actual emulation options. It runs the same stuff as all the doodads in this category, so I can see some people going for the cheap one to save some money, but if you spend the extra $10 on this, I can promise you'll be glad that you did because it's just nicer. I also love the retro vibes of this Game Boy DMG version right here. And finally, we have the Powkiddy V10. This thing is a weird one because it has a 3x2 screen and it's a weird shape. It kind of looks like a squat squashed handheld. But here's the thing about the V10. This screen is perfect for GBA. It is of a resolution that gives us pixel perfect 2x GBA integer scaling. There are other handhelds that do perfect GBA, but the V10 is the cheapest one, and it's amazing for GBA. And you get other stuff on the side. You still get all the old retro stuff and PS1 and some Dreamcast and PSP or whatever. This isn't the best all-around device. I think the G350 is better for most stuff, but if you want the perfect GBA device that also does other stuff, this one's the one to get. This next category is what I'm calling the odd ones, the devices that are a bit weird and unconventional but may be perfect for you depending on your needs. Let's start out with the Powkiddy RGB20SX. This thing is sort of like an extra vertical Game Boy. It has the RK3566 processor, which lets you run more Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast and PSP than the cheap devices. It's got the classic Game Boy shape, but as you can tell, it's got this huge tall screen. And here's the thing with this screen, it's perfect for Game Boy, amazing for the 8x7 systems like NES and Super Nintendo, also amazing for vertical shooters. It's great for Nintendo DS because you can stack the screens, and Pico 8. This is like a Pico 8 lover's dream handheld. I mean, this is a niche device. I would only recommend it if you want what it specifically does well, but it's honestly a very neat and interesting device, and I personally love it. And then we have the GKD Pixel. Now, this one is discontinued, but there's a new version of the Pixel 2, and the real reason you would want to choose a Pixel handheld is that it's a solid little device. Literally, it's solid because it's made of metal, and it's little. As you can see. I really love the aesthetics and the interesting build, but I don't personally like gaming on this one all that much. But lots of people do though. There's a big community around this handheld. It is interesting, and there aren't really any other handhelds that do what this does. So if you want something that feels like a piece of EDC gear, then this one might appeal to you. And then, if you thought the Pixel was small, get a freaking load of this. The Brick RG Nano. This thing is comically small, but you can actually play games on it. It has a square screen, which means it's great for Game Boy, although you can play all of the old stuff, including PS1. I don't really play any action-heavy games on here, although some people do and have no problem. I like it for role-playing games and strategy games from the Game Boy and Game Boy Color and NES. It's such an odd little thing. I definitely don't think it's going to be for everyone, but I love that it exists. It's just neat. The next category is going to be the high-end devices, the ones that you'll want to consider if you want a premium experience with all the bells and whistles and enough power to handle even higher-end stuff like GameCube and PS2. I have two of these to suggest, starting with the Brick RG20SX. This thing is a freaking chonker of a handheld. Just look at the booty on this thing. It's definitely not conventional looking. They kind of went with their own direction for the shape and the aesthetics, but it actually works really well. It is super comfortable to hold with great controls, amazing thumbsticks, and the screen is awesome. This is a 4-inch screen with a resolution of 960 by 720. It's an Android device, which means that you get access to the latest high-end handheld emulators like GameCube and PS2 and 3DS, even Nintendo Switch. It's not powerful enough to run all the highest-end emulation, but it can do a ton of it. And you get access to Android games too. This is by far the most comfortable vertical handheld that I'm going to be showing you today. And it has a huge battery. If you want a device that you can play for hours and hours, definitely consider this one. My personal favorite top-end vertical device is the Ayaneo Pocket DMG. This thing is just next level. Basically the most top-end premium Game Boy that you could ever want. It has a big, beautiful OLED screen, really nice controls like this huge comfy D-pad and easy-to-use face buttons. It has this unique single stick design down here with the second stick being controlled by a touchpad, which is interesting. And it totally captures the nostalgic Game Boy vibes. It's also the most powerful device on the list today. This thing can run all of the GameCube and all of the PS2, and most stuff can run at a lower power profile, which means that you get a ton of battery life. And because it's an OLED screen, all of these retro games look amazing. However, believe it or not, even though it's a top-end device, and it's pretty expensive too, the thing that I love playing on here is just a good old Game Boy. I love that I can play those old games on the best Game Boy ever, on the best possible screen with all the shaders that make it look the part, and I can record my gameplay on this while I play for when I make videos. This is one of my favorite devices. It's in my top 3. I love this thing to bits, but like I said, it is expensive, so don't bother looking at the price if you're not looking for a top-end premium device. And finally, I saved my all-time favorite for last. Those who know me well know 2 things about me. 1, my body is 27% aspartame from all the diet root beer that I drink. And 2, my favorite thing is the Miyoo Mini. I have loved this since the moment I got it, and I will continue to love it until the day I die. Or until something replaces it, I guess. Either way, I'm gonna die. Just like you. We're all doomed. So we might as well fill our meager existence with retro games, and if you're looking for the most pocket-friendly, cutest, most magically nostalgic little Game Boy that you could ever hope for, then you need a Miyoo Mini in your life. I made multiple videos on the Miyoo Mini. I love it so much. I'm not going to go over everything that I love about it today. You should watch this video, link below if you want all the details about why I love it. The short version is that it's super small and pocket friendly. So small and pocket friendly that I literally bring it everywhere with me, in my pocket. It plays everything up to PS1 perfectly, including some Nintendo DS. And I have this with the custom Onion OS card from Lid NXT, the 256GB version, which has so many PS1 games and Nintendo DS games on it. And since I'm on Onion OS, I can use the quick resume function, so you can be playing a game and power it off and it'll automatically save your spot, and then later you can power it on and within seconds you're right back into your game, right where you left off. It's just so easy to use and cute, and the screen is amazing and the controls are amazing and it's fun and it makes me happy. I wouldn't recommend this for everyone. It might be a bit on the small side if you prefer larger handhelds, but for me, this is it. This is the one. I'm going into the grave with this in my pocket. And if that's too morbid for you, then keep in mind that I'm probably playing Kirby's Dream Land. So, you gotta take the bitter with the sweet, as they say. And that brings us to the end. I've shown you all the best vertical handhelds in one epic video, and if you're into vertical handhelds, then you're in good company because so am I, and so is this guy. Click the thumbs up button if you like the video, or don't if you didn't. That's it from me. I'm TechDweeb, thanks for watching, bye-bye!